Mike Galini, Ned Dunphy, Billy Banica, all today on the Wes Buck Show. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered, this is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing. Prove me wrong, I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. Hope you're doing well out there. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us as we dive into all the latest and greatest happenings in the sport of drag racing. We've got a hell of a show for you guys today. We've got a super in-depth interview coming up with the one and only Ned Dunphy, fresh off earning rights to the title. Fastest street car in America during the 2025 running of Hot Rod Drag Week. We're also going to hear from Mike Galini, member of the Motor Trend and Hot Rod editorial team that has kind of had a front row seat to all things Hot Rod Drag Week for several years. And I'm anxious to kind of pick his brain and take a little bit broader of a stroke when it comes to drag and drive competition, where this deal is headed, how far it's grown, et cetera. And then to round out the show, we're going to hear from Billy Banica, on the heels of his first career NHRA Pro Mod national event victory, a wild weekend, a wild day of racing out at ZMAX Dragway for the four-wide Carolina Nationals. But there's a lot to talk about in the sport right now. I want to dive right into it. Mike, JT, thanks for joining me as always. The thing I want to talk about, we can talk about drag and drive, and we can do all that when we get those guys in here. But how about these Jimmy Taylor runs? Are you guys following this as closely as I am? Because, dude, for those that don't know, longtime door slammer drag racer. He's actually long time is a bit of a stretch. I'm giving him maybe more than he would accept. He's actually a relative newcomer to the sport of drag racing, but he's been made serious waves in the 5-6 years that he's been a part of this sport. First, as a member of the cast of No Prep King, Street Outlaws, On Track spinoff show, and then in radial competition, and most recently as a part of the Drag Illustrated Winter Series, where he certainly has made his presence known as a Pro Mod competitor. Earlier this year, he put together a twin-turbo Pro Mod with the help of Carl Stevens Jr., 2018 winner of the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod out in Denver, Colorado. And they have really taken the Pro Mod world by storm. Qualified number one at the yellowbullet.com Nationals, went to the final round, ultimately falling to Steve King, who has been on a hell of a run ever since the World Series victory earlier this year. But the King himself. But I got to tell you, what Jimmy Taylor's doing right now is something that I find really fun, exciting, and interesting, and that is specifically going out to set a record. So for those that haven't been following along, Jimmy kind of made it public in recent weeks that he wanted to reset both the 8th and quarter mile ET record for a door slammer. That spot is currently held by the one and only Turbo Todd Moyer with a 3:45 in the 8th mile and a 5:14 in the quarter mile. And those marks were both set in January of 2024. Todd went a 3:45 with a 7, and he also went 233.92 miles per hour on that same run. And Jimmy's made no bones about it. He's here to break that record. That's what they've set out to do. So they got the biggest turbos possible on this car, guys. They've got all the weight they could possibly get out of it. And yesterday they embarked on this mission on Monday.
Are they telling us how big the turbos are or what the weight is? Or that's
I know that information, but I don't know that I am at liberty to disclose it. But I can say big and light. Is that fair? Big turbos and lightweight is, I think, a very fair statement as to what's going on here. But basically, went out on Monday, made some bottom 350 runs, felt confident, went into testing on Tuesday. Not killer conditions in Maryland this time of the year. That's one of the things that I want to talk about. Like, if you go through the Drag Illustrated top 8, almost all the record runs were made somewhere between November and March. I mean, almost all the top runs were made in January or February at the latest. So to be making this attempt while we're admittedly in record-setting season, as we like to call it, it's still pretty hot and humid in a lot of places, and we're not seeing the mine shaft conditions.
I mean, what you just said about the dates, that's interesting, because it used to always be March, right? March or October, because you didn't race in November, December, January, and February. And now that's what we do. And, not just us with the Winter Series, but even before that, you're just seeing this a lot more. I've never really broken down the top 8 or our records that we have that we keep in the magazine by date, but that's really interesting to me if you stop and think about it.
Well, I mean, it's 100% the case. And I think it really is. I mean, if you look at Todd Moyer, went 345 January of 2024. Jason Scruggs, who sits in number 2 with a 346.0, also a run set January of 2024. The most recent additions to these lists have been Ken Cartuccio, 347 with a 3 in Georgia at South Georgia Motorsports Park, February of 25. Bubba Stanton, October of 2024 in Ferris, Texas, XRP. Paulo Juiced, 347 with a 9, Cecil, Georgia, February 20th. So, I mean, it is kind of interesting how, I remember record-setting season being September and October for a long time. You know what I mean? Because the air started to get good. The NHRA Tour was kind of wrapping up. You had year-end events like Streetcar Super Nationals. You had, what's the other one? Shakedown at E-Town for many, many years. Like those end-of-the-year kind of King of the Hill type events were where these moments happen. But it's looking to me
maybe you're going to get to this, but why are they going out trying to do it right now when the conditions may not be optimal? Is this sort of just like a first step up to the plate? Maybe going to try it again before the end of the year or sometime in the winter?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a couple of things. First and foremost, I think that their focus is the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. And we have such more stringent rules and regulations that I think that there is a fear of getting off in left field. Does that make sense? Where they get off in left field and maybe they're not, hey, we don't want to upset the apple cart, right? We've got a good program that runs the number that can be consistent. So let's go chase this record right now while we have nothing else that we're focused on and can go dedicate our time and energy and the car setup to that conquest. But it is kind of interesting because I do think a case could have been made for hey, dude, what about October and November when those conditions are more favorable? Track temperatures are down, adjusted altitude is much more favorable. But I think also part of the reality is that these twin turbo cars, they make so much power that I think that it's not as much a part of the equation as it would be if we were talking about a nitrous car or a supercharged car.
True.
I think we experienced that firsthand in Denver, Colorado during the first 3 years of the World Series of Pro Mod, where it's these cars are going to make power wherever they're at. They're going to make boost on the moon. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
Still it'd be easier later, just traction wise and getting the power to the ground and whatnot. But they got plenty of power. That's for sure.
They got plenty of power, man. By all accounts, Brett Kepner and I have labored over this, and we were doing some math the last couple of nights, and I don't see any way that this thing is not encroaching on 7,000 horsepower based on trap speed and the weight of the car, which is really hard to wrap your head around, right? I mean, I wrote that article last night.
Has anybody else confirmed that or?
Those are numbers that I have had confirmed from Carl and Jimmy Taylor themselves. And I'll tell you, their real goal, they see resetting the 8th mile record merely as a stair step to be the first door slammer in the 4-second zone in the quarter mile. That is the ultimate goal. And I don't know, we're in completely uncharted territory here, which is why I think it makes it so much fun to talk about. But by all accounts, it's going to take something along the lines of a high 330 in the 8th mile to run 499. And so we've seen the effort that's gone into running this 346 with a 1 that Jimmy Taylor ran earlier yesterday afternoon. you're still a world away from 339 with a 9. You know what I mean? Like, so it's.
What was the first? We know the first 300 mile per hour top fuel. Who was the first 4-second top fuel car?
I don't know.
Was it? I think Eddie Hill.
I was gonna say it's Eddie Hill.
Yeah, Eddie. And
so what do you got to look and see what it just the horsepower number. Like how much horsepower do you think that car had at the time? What did it weigh? There's a lot of different dynamics in a top fuel car versus a suspended door car, but it's interesting to try to start to compare those, like the weight and the incrementals and the horsepower, how that all is factoring into what it's going to take for that car to run a 4-second quarter mile. I mean, like more, less horsepower. Like there's a lot of factors: technology, traction, tires. Everything goes into it. It's just really interesting to me. Like when that actually happens, compare those incrementals to Eddie Hill's incrementals and see exactly how that plays out.
I mean, and the thing is, these things are going like back splitting. Jimmy's run yesterday was 108 back split from the 330 to the 8th mile. That's bananas, bro. Like that is absolutely insane.
It's crazy.
And I do think when you start to factor in what it's going to gain from the 8th mile to the quarter mile, Kepner's of the belief that a 300 mile per hour run in the quarter mile for a door car is going to take a 250 mile an hour 8th mile pass. And I don't know how realistic that is, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Do you think 300? I think 300 is probably more attainable in the quarter mile than 4 seconds.
It's an interesting.
And you got guys that are knocking on the door of that, and there's going to be an effort to break that number. Also, we've heard some rumblings of some guys that want to break that number. I don't know. I'm not Steve Petty, obviously, but to be able to figure that out. And it's going to be really interesting to see which one happens first, or if they happen at the same time. I don't think they correlate to where you have to go 300 to go a 4-second pass or vice versa.
I don't either. And I think that I think that we will see the 4-second run before we see 300 mile an hour.
You do?
I do. I think we'll see. I really feel like there are a handful of cars in the country right now.
Guy Carlton says he's with me.
Yep.
Yeah, I really think that it's going to be, I think it's the opposite of that. Just because we've already seen guys go Todd Moyer went 514 lifting off the throttle at 278 miles an hour.
Well, let's go back to what we were talking about earlier. So when did Eddie Hill go 499 and when did Kenny Bernstein go 300?
1988.
So he went 499 well before Kenny went 300.
Yeah.
Well, that's in your favor though. However, top fuel cars are quicker at accelerating.
Yeah, I mean, he did that 4 years sooner than Kenny Bernstein went 300. So Kenny went 300 in 1992. So it took 4 years for that to happen.
Another interesting thing is that your quickest run, we always saw this, and I'm sure millions of other drag racers have seen this. Your best mile per hour is not going to be on your quickest run. Your quickest run is your most efficient, straightest, shortest point between straight line between 2 points. You actually run a higher speed if you move around on the track, if the car spin the tires. There's a lot of different factors that can, how you got it geared. There's all kinds of different things that can kind of artificially enhance your speed and cost you ET. And when you gain ET, you actually cost yourself speed.
You guys should make a bet on this. Maybe like a Mohawk or
Guy Carlson.
Loser has to get a Mohawk.
Loser has to get a Mohawk.
What?
Did you? Yeah.
Well, I really think that we will.
Too quick to go fast.
You, man, like if they go, I mean, I know Jimmy's already been like on early shutoffs, like low 20s in the quarter mile on 8th mile shutoffs. You know what I mean? He ran the car to 800 feet and I think went 520, maybe right around there. So I'm anxious to hear from him today, but I mean, I know they went into this morning going, hey, we're going to go 343 in the 8th. And if it feels good, I'm running it out the back and we think it's going to go in the force.
Well, right? I'm probably backtracking now just based on what we've seen in the past for what
Mike.
for the difference between what it takes for these cars to do this. And based on what you've said, we'd have to pull up the incrementals from when Todd Moyer went that pass at U.S. Street Nationals testing in January of 2024, which I think is like one of the, I hate to say it, it's like the biggest tease and like missed opportunity in like Pro Mod drag racing history. You just wish he would have kept the thing to the floor, to the quarter mile.
Well,
like, I know all the different reasons why, but it's like, man, if that, or if it had made, I don't know exactly, or remember what happened. If he quit early, or if it was parts failure or whatever, but man, if that thing could have made it all the way, I think a lot of this would already been signed, sealed, delivered.
I really can't argue. Kepner told me that the 1,000-foot ET on Moyer's run was tracking to a 509. So Brett's equation and conversion would say that if he would have ran it out the back door and not got off the throttle early, it would have went 509, right? But you're still talking like when you get down to this level of performance,
that's a tenth of a second.
That's a tenth of a second, bro. And I mean, that is a tremendous, I mean, it may as well be a mile. So I don't know, but I will say that
I think it's real interesting too. It's in a 69 Camaro, which is just, true. And I know you can't, I mean, you know, go build a new car or whatever just for this. And it's the car these guys have run for years now, but that's not the most aerodynamic body. Like if you're trying to do this, it's got to be done in one of these late model 5-star Camaro bodies.
Yeah, I can't really argue. I think it's going to probably be, I don't know. It's really interesting. Let's see what Mike.
But maybe if you've got that much horsepower, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's close to 7,000 horsepower.
Let's see what Mike. Yeah, Mike. He's in the green room right now. So,
ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, one of my dear friends. We've done this a lot together. The one, the only Mike Galini. What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? How are you?
What's up, man?
Good, man. Are you in a nap pod at Google?
I wish I could take a nap. It's an uncomfortable chair, but it is a privacy pod in the office at the Hearst Tower in New York City.
Oh,
privacy
wow.
pod.
I know. Sounds so
Tower.
good.
So is that your office? Like is that where you work every day, or what's going on?
Not in the pod, no.
No, not in the pod.
Days it feels like that, but
unless you're in trouble, they sent you to the pod.
Mike lives in a pod.
This is the home office now. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I guess I did not realize that that's where you were based out of now.
Oh, yep. Nothing but the best for Mike.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Scraper in downtown New York City.
Yeah, well, Midtown I think is the more formal. Yeah.
I'm learning to learn a little bit of that terminology. Yeah. I spent some time in New York City this summer. I'm not necessarily a local, but I'm getting a little more comfortable up there. I love it up there, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, like right out the window right there is Central Park. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's pretty spectacular, man. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm just curious. Have you been following any of this Jimmy Taylor record-setting run situation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're kind of having that debate now, like which happens first, 499 in the quarter mile for a door slammer or 300 miles per hour in a door slammer. Mike's kind of leaning towards 300. I'm leaning towards 499. I'm curious on your take.
I am on the 499 plan.
Okay.
I will not be.
Sounds like everybody is now. Besides, I'll go 300.
It's wild that we're even talking about that.
It is,
isn't it?
Yeah. It's when you think about it, it's like, man, you talk about the nitro run, right? It's like, so a methanol burning turbo engine, makes more power, right? Because I gotta imagine, the Pro Mod's significantly heavier than the nitro car was back in, what'd you say, 98?
88. Yeah, 88.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly they would have weighed back then. I know a top fuel dragster today is like 2330 or something like that, right around. So
are they that heavy? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't believe Jimmy Taylor's car is that light, but I also don't think it's a mile away from that number either.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, but you are talking about a suspended left-hand drive door slammer, full-bodied car that, I mean, to even be comparing those, to your point, is absolutely bonkers. I mean, it's just...
Is it even suspended at that point, right? Because remember when Frankie Taylor had made those big runs at St. Louis, I think he had said the suspension bottomed out.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I was in the comments, like Moyer's windshield caved in, right?
Yeah,
or partially.
Right, he had cabin pressure. I think when you guys had said about he had pulled out of the run, I think it was cabin pressure had got to him. I think that was one of the one of the big concerns and that he had faced.
Well, and I was talking to Jimmy, was it this morning or late last night? I was talking to him. Yeah, it was late last night. And this is the brace yourselves for this one. He's never made a quarter-mile run ever in his drag racing career. Ever.
That's ballsy.
Right? So, I mean, I think that it is insane to me. I told him, I said, have you ever made a run to the quarter mile? I've only ever seen you race 8th mile. He's like, nope, never done it. Like, well, wild. I guess this is a hell of a way to go about it, right?
It's pretty easy, right? You just count one and it's over.
Yeah. You know, especially in that thing. I asked him, I said, what does that thing feel like? You know, and he goes, Wes, it is he goes, it leaves so hard. And when the power comes in, it's like it's leaving again and it never stops pulling. Like it just freight trains all the way. I remember when Jay Cox told us when he went like 222 at Bradenton during one of our Winter Series events, he goes, I felt like I was in a starship, you know, like warp drive.
We've heard people talk about it. Lyle talked about it. Like the quarter-mile run is just so different than the 8th mile run. And it takes some huge balls to keep your foot in
even that what sensation that Wes is describing, that's 8th mile. So then the quarter,
right.
The quarter, you know, obviously, like Mike's saying, it's just count to one and hold it as straight as you possibly can. Hope it doesn't make any moves down there. That car we watched it at Cecil County, and it was even, I believe it was spinning the tires on the top end going through the 8th mile finish line. And I think there was a couple passes where he drove it a little bit past the finish line, probably, you know, just with that thing doing what it's doing, easy to do. So he's probably gotten somewhere in that halfway between the 8th mile and the quarter to this point.
He has, I know, but it's to be honest, I just find the whole situation, like I've never been a record setting guy. Like that's never been one of the stories that I love to tell, but I can't help but frame this as Evel Knievel jumping Snake River Canyon. Like that's kind of how I see this. And I can't take my promoter hat off. I told Jimmy, I was like, man, I wish we would have had time to like really turn this into a happening, because this is the type of thing that people tune in to see. Like if the world knew this attempt was going to be made at 3 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon and it was properly promoted, like I think you could have sold tickets. I think you could have, you know, live streamed it. I think this would be a lot, right? I mean, to me, I find it.
Yeah, you've been wanting to do it.
I've been wanting to do it, and I think that I'm hoping. Like, I wish these guys nothing but the best this weekend, more so than anything, a safe, you know, next couple of days or how long they spend doing this, because you are talking about uncharted territory. You're talking about a really, really dangerous situation. And, you know, I wish them nothing but the best, but I do hope that there is maybe an opportunity to better tell this story over the course of time and build up to a Evel Knievel jump Snake River Canyon type of moment, maybe at Bradenton, you know, or at another one of these iconic tracks across the country. I'm actually excited to see this happen at Maryland International Raceway, because when I run through the list of where all of the records have been set in the Drag Illustrated Top 8, a large majority of them are in Bradenton, Florida. You know, so I think it's cool to see some other, you know, other tracks kind of get into that conversation and maybe earn rights to the quickest or fastest track in the country, man. So let's switch gears here and talk drag week, man. I think that I don't know what it was, and I'm curious to ask you, Mike, as someone who was there, boots on the ground, it felt different for me. I don't know why. Maybe it always feels the way it felt this week or last week, but it just seemed like there was a little bit of a renewed energy around this particular event. Not that it had necessarily faded, but perhaps there have become so many drag and drive events that it was just more part of the conversation and not the conversation. And I don't know if it was Ned Dunphy. I don't know if it was Bryant Goldstone and his new car, or a multitude of other storylines that existed throughout the event. But it just seemed like it had captured the imagination of the drag racing masses.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of it, right? Jeff Lutz coming back, you know, calling his shot, trying to go 599. I think there was a lot of things that worked really well. But to your point, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of drag and drive stuff going out there, and I'd like to think that, you know, we're working hard to make our brand the best it could be. And I think that helped.
I do think it helped. Mike and I were just talking about maybe, you know, Ned's involvement kind of just some fresh faces. Like, you love having the Jeff Lutzes, you love having the Tom Baileys and the Larry Larsons, and, you know, the people that have kind of built, the Alex Taylors, who wasn't involved this year. But to me, I think a little bit of fresh blood was just well received. Maybe it was a different looking car. Maybe it was the fact that it was a Dodge Viper. And maybe it was just the fact that we all know that it was anything even remotely close to effortless, but man, he did make it look pretty doable, right?
At one point, I had texted him. I said, "Hey, you know, we're just coming in from the, from the cruise. We're about 45 minutes out. You know, we'd love to do some nighttime photos with you. You know, working on in the parking lot." And his text back was, "We're in bed already, showered and in bed." And it's like, oh God, like that's unheard of at that level. I mean, it to your point, yeah, it seemed effortless compared to stuff in the past, right? And it just becomes that normalcy of going quick and learning from mistakes and figuring it out. Just like Pro Mod, right? Like, we're all shocked that, Taylor's trying to run, in the fours, but it wasn't too long ago that we saw the 599 go down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh my gosh, here we're a second quicker at this point. And so, I think the more you do this, the more people learn, the more you have, teams involved that are very serious, and he's got a lot of people behind him. And so it's a well thought out combination, and that makes it look easy.
I agree. I mean, when you think about Pro Line, Ryan Rakestraw, Jamie Miller, those are all real significant difference makers in the door slammer drag racing space. And to bring that level of, brain power and experience to drag week clearly paid dividends. Do you think that?
I think before we move on, I think that your team did a great job. I think our team did a great job, and really a lot of people did on social media. It was represented really well.
We had the 1320 video guys were out there. We haven't seen those in a couple of years. It was great.
Yep.
They want to come down for the 20th anniversary, which was fun. We had a lot of media. Like I said, there was a lot of reasons. I think that there was, a lot of hype and attention to drag week this year.
Yeah, especially with that drag and drive, the market, saturation is kind of a bad word, but there's a lot of these events out there now, and this is kind of the granddaddy, the original. So it was cool to see that kind of, come back together and everyone sort of pay the respect for this event that it's had in the past, and sort of had like a revitalization with these guys that were competing in it this year. So I agree. There was something about it that was different this year compared to in the last handful of years. And, maybe it's just the effort on the part of everyone, like sometimes we downplay, our roles in all this stuff to get it out to the masses, you Mike, and our team as well. So that's a good point, JT.
No, I agree. What do you make of 20 years of drag and drive? I mean, can you reflect just back on how far? I mean, I'm sure, have you ever had any like candid conversations with Freiberger about, I'm sure this kind of started out as so many things do, as notes on a cocktail napkin. And here we are 20 years later with this being, one of the hottest segments in drag racing today, with undoubtedly one of the most passionate audiences. I mean, I think the conversation that we had internally here a lot was how impressive the crowds were during the week. I mean, that is not a normal happening in the sport of drag racing. And to see these places packed full of people, I got a call from Michael Narks, who was our kind of boots on the ground Tuesday morning. I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday at New Media. And he
Tuesday,
goes, yeah, there is a line of cars to get into this place.
Yeah, no, it was great to see, and that track was super excited about it. We've seen this in the past with Byron, same way, right? We first went to Byron, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little longer. And, the excitement for this type of racing, and it just shows, the streetcar market is really strong. But yeah, David and I have chatted quite a bit, even with loans, just on 20 years in the life cycle of it, and the way it's built, I think really lends itself really, because we see this all the time, right? Like, there's classes that come and go. But the way it's built, very Bonneville-esque, right? Which is obviously survived over time. And that time trial type of event does really well. I think, there's so many different combinations, so many different people involved, that it just keeps it fun. And there's a fun factor to it. There's a challenge factor to it. And I love dealing with manufacturers that they're still trying to figure it out. Like, what's you guys are crazy. And it's fun. I think the market is still really learning it, right? And here we are 20 years later, and Ned, it took 3 years to figure this out, to go, this record run. And even cars in lower classes, same thing.
What is there anything that you can like earmark or identify? Because I think that's a really interesting conversation to have. And we won't try to keep you too long, Mike. I appreciate your time. But like, you're right. You're so right about the ebbs and flows that have happened in the sport of drag racing over the years. Like, we've seen times where, I mean, if your car doesn't have a 315 or 275 radial on it, you may as well sell it. No one's paying attention to it, right? We've seen Pro Mod go through those cycles as well, and I think it's at a high tide moment right now. But I'm just curious, like, do you think there are certain characteristics, or, you mentioned Bonneville, that time trial type of thing. Is there anything that you see as key ingredients to create an event or a brand of drag racing that stands the test of time?
I think you just have to keep the elements right? Like, make it fun, make it challenging, and just give people a reason to keep coming back every year, and invite new people, right? You can't close it out to the masses. I think that helps quite a bit. Our largest class was the Street Machine Eliminator, which is 10-0 and slower. I think there's a larger part of the market that gets put on a bigger stage that they don't normally get to, right? Like, you have people at 10-20 cars. Hell, Loans and Freiburger have the most fun with the 15-second cars and 16-second cars, right? Like, we had a couple of years where, some folks were bringing out just oddball stuff to drive and race, and they would just get abused all week. And it was part of the fun, right? And I think it's just that community that's built around it, right? Sitting in a parking lot, having a beer and talking cars. You work hard, you're stuck on the side of the road, 3 people are pulling over to help you. It's all part of the experience. And I think if you keep that experience very positive and fun and engaging, people keep coming back.
Yeah, I wrote those down because I thought they would be worth kind of chewing on a little bit more, because I think one thing we talk about a lot here at Drag Illustrated, and a lot of the conversations I have with event promoters and track owners, is it is rooted in fun. You have to make sure that this is an enjoyable time. Like, it's too hard, it's too expensive, it's too time consuming to not have fun doing it. So I think having fun is like the foundational piece of these things. You're so right. But I found the challenging line to be interesting, because I do think, and I've had this conversation with, like, as the competition at our own events continues to increase, we've seen this with the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. I mean, guys were running career bests and failing to qualify, right, for those events. That's how quick and fast it has become. But I honestly think, despite somebody in the heat of the moment saying, "Oh, I'm done trying," that's what makes them want it, because it's so hard.
Yep.
Because it's such a small group of people that have been able to do it. So I think that challenge, I mean, when I look sometimes at NHRA, and this is not at all throwing stones, but just kind of thinking about it on a deeper level, is I do think that it not having full fields, you know what I mean? Like, I think that kind of reduces some of the attraction to Top Fuel, because you don't want to just show up and qualify. Because I have argued that I almost think they would be better off to go to 8-car fields and make qualifying mean something, and being in that group mean something. Like, sometimes less is more.
Well, that takes away from your qualifying show too. I feel like when guys are out there and they know they don't have to qualify, they skip sessions. Yep. You don't get the show out of your Friday and Saturday ticket that you normally would.
And I just found that interesting, because I think a lot of people would say Drag Week's too hard for me, right? Like, that's too hard. But I would argue, counter that's the attraction, is that it's hard. That's what you want to be a part of.
It's finishing and completing it. I think if you look at it holistically, like, you have Drag Week, which is several different classes, right? And I think there's also, you guys are zoning in on a particular class, whether it's, Pro Mod or Top Fuel, or even X275 or one, like, that's just one class, right? And I think, when you talk about the Drag Week experience, it's a community of multiple vehicles. And I think that helps quite a bit as well.
I agree. The diversity there that's one of the things that I'm always kind of blown away by, is, like, it looks to me like the guy with a 13-second Mustang or a 15-second C10 Chevy pickup truck is having every bit as much fun as a dude with a 6, 7, 8-second car.
Because and they're long for the ride. Yeah. And
everyone's got their
spectators
own
can ride along with everybody all week if they want to. You know, I mean that's what's cool about it. You can like be involved even though if you can't afford it or can't put something together for it. You know, you can still jump in and help whenever and have those beers in the parking lot with everybody. It's just a cool deal all the way around.
No, there's no doubt. And you also mentioned fresh faces. And I do think that is a part of the magic of 2025's running of Hot Rod Drag Week were the inclusion of some of these fresh faces. I feel Bryant Goldstone has become a face there. He's obviously been a part of that scene for a long time, but like in a real prominent way in the last few years. And it feels like that is a big part of this as well. Ned Dunphy's involvement. And then again, to touch on the community, I don't think that there's perhaps anything more important with these events than establishing some sort of community that people are proud and eager to be a part of. There's a question in the comments, Mike, and I actually was having this conversation with my wife last week. She goes, "What's it pay to win Drag Week?" And I go, "You get a guitar." And she goes, "Wait, what?" I said, "You get a guitar." And she's like, "Well, isn't everybody mad about that?" And I'm like, no one gives a shit about it. And I'm just curious, like the question in the comment, Ted never was a race car. Will there ever be prize money in drag and drive? I mean, what's your take on that, Mike?
I mean, I think it goes both directions, right? You're going to have a group that looks at the payout as the reward and the others who look at the challenge and the finishing as the reward, you know, and, you know, I mean, let's just be realistic. You could win every Top Fuel race, and if you didn't have sponsorship money, you'd never make money, right? It's, you know, racing as a business or making money doesn't exist in this world on any level in any part of motorsports. So, you know, it could go both ways. You know, you look at Bonneville and the purity of it, and, you know, they pay zero also. And here, you know, the Speed Demon team, I mean, they've spent millions over the years.
People have lost their lives pursuing that. And it's bigger than that. And I got to be honest, like this is maybe a revelation or a revelation that I've had recently. And it's something I guess I've known in the back of my mind, but you know, as these purses continue to balloon, that is in many ways a race to the bottom, like, cause you're never going to be able to pay enough to actually make it profitable. Right? Like you're
opening a can of worms. I think that this conversation can go really sideways really quickly. You know, a good friend of mine, you know, always says that, you know, the fans have never, you know, got a piece of that purse. So does it matter on that level? I think there's a marketing level to it, because you do get the racers and you do put on a show for the fans. So there is a benefit to both. You know, it's hard, right? Like the money comes in and it does change, you know, it does change it, right? One of the Pro Mod racers when I was with NMCA, and they were talking about increasing the purse up, and he says, "Hey, that's great." He goes, "But you're going to force me to spend, you know, it was like another $5,000 a race or something." And he's like, "You're going to force me to spend another $50,000 this year to chase that money, because it brings in the quicker cars, and then he has to step up his program." So I mean, there's a plus and minus to all of it, but yeah, no, it's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. And I think it's like, because I agree with you. I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen events pay crazy money and not draw any additional fanfare, not draw any additional participation from racers. But we've also, like, we've used payout. I mean, the World Series of Pro Mod, one of its main driving forces was $100,000 to win, right?
It's great marketing. Yeah,
it's great marketing. I mean, we had to use that as a tool to break through. But I remember being in this
racer can use that as a tool too, though, like the prestige of it.
Well, I mean, and honestly, that's a lot of the reason that we were so hell bent on putting together $1 million prize for the Drag Illustrated Winter Series, was specifically for those racers to be able to excite investors or sponsors or whatever and say, hey, because unfortunately in this world we live in, where you've got golfers and professional athletes, you know, earning millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And obviously we're on different planets, right? Stick and ball sports and motorsports. But the perception out there is like, I don't want these guys to feel like they're racing for peanuts forever. I want them to be able to be proud to tell, you know, their new sponsor, like, hey, we're going down to Bradenton this year to run for $1 million. Right. Yeah. And I think that it has value, but I agree with you that it's it's a slippery slope, and it is a double-edged sword in many, many ways, the purest definition, it's a double-edged sword, because it's a race to the bottom as well. Because, I mean, you see an influx of money or whatever, and all the purses get ballooned, and it kind of screws up drag racing economics, right? Because you put promoters and track operators in a position to never win, and that's like a recipe for death of an event, you know?
But, I mean, it also goes back to the fun, the inclusion of just the community part of it, and being part of that event, right? If you make it a spectacle, being a part of it is just as special. And, to do like the World Series race, to be there and experience it, I think as a racer would be fantastic.
Yeah, 100%, man. It is a really, really interesting and deep conversation. And, I'll bookend this particular part of the conversation with just saying that it's crazy to see someone spend the money to build a 3,000 plus horsepower door slammer to beat it up and down the countryside, and race for a guitar and bragging rights. And I think that everybody at Hot Rod, yourself, Freiberger, Loans, everybody else that's been KJ, that's been involved in that event over the years, and I know the list goes on much longer than that, but you should be really proud of what those 5 days represent in the sport of drag racing, man. So like, kudos to you, the whole team, because it's special. It's truly special out here.
Oh yeah, I mean, they've definitely built it. And like you said, it's such a huge staff to make it operate. There's a lot of people that, I'm here, but there's a bunch of people that make it work. I always joke, I've got the easy job. I just show up. I make all these demands earlier in the year. They implement them, and then I just show up. A lot of people take care of a lot of else.
Sweet.
I like it, man. I like it.
Hey, I want this, and this, and there's a great event team that makes it happen.
No, it's a special thing you guys got going. And I tell you what, the seed, I mean, the hook is in me. I mean, if I've got Mike and JT telling me that we need to go on drag week,
you talk about entertaining. We will document every step of the way. And look, JT's got his glasses now. He's like more intelligent. He's going to tune
the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, tune it.
JT
I can play. I can play. I'm like a boy band. If I can fall back on that if I have to. So I can entertain in between tracks. Put on a little concert, do some dancing.
It's funny you say the in between tracks, because when I first did this in 2016, I was a co-driver with my buddy Mike Javanis, and nice little 8.0 car at the time, and we were all going into it. It was the mindset was the drag racing part. It was the drive that was the grueling, and hardest part of the whole thing, and that was, that first day we started driving, following the map, and before then it was, didn't have GPS directions. It was a paper and like line by line. It's like, oh, go 2.1 miles and turn here. It's like, well, where the hell's 2.1 miles? We don't even have an odometer in this car. So, the drive is every bit of it. It's a huge part of it. I think that's also what attracts a lot of people. It's more than just on track time. And in fact, on track is, if you just do one run, like that's good.
Yeah.
So you don't even get much on track.
Our conversation with Ned Dunphy that you'll hear coming up, he lays that out exactly as you're saying. The drive is the challenging part and the most fun part. So he said, like, honestly, I hate to say this, but the actual drag racing part is like easy. We just get that done, knock it out, and then the rest of it's the challenge.
Yeah. No, I just remember that Thursday night, that on that first drag week that I did, just cruising through, wherever the hell we were, nowhere. Music blaring, 5 cars behind us, all Mustangs, and it's just like, this is amazing, right? It's like you hate to be the old guy to say this, but you felt like you were 18 again, just screwing off all week, drag racing and driving your cars.
No, it's I think that time behind the wheel and time in the cabin, that adds a lot to it. Like when you've worked on this thing this much and you've spent all this time and energy, it's fun to go out and like be in it, using it. Not just unloading it and loading it in a trailer and getting it up on jacks or whatever, wheeling it up to the staging lanes. I think that's a big part of it, man. And Mike, we appreciate it, dude. Seriously, thank you for taking some time to shoot.
No problem. Glad to join.
And I hope we get to do it again. I also got to tell you, your episode of what's the name of the automotive podcast with Jamie Meyer?
Oh, automotive influence or something like that.
Yeah, great job.
Automotive Advantage.
Automotive Advantage. Yeah,
thanks.
Fantastic job. Fun. They're doing a great job with that show.
Yeah, definitely.
They're on to something, man. Well, Mike, thank you, and we'll talk to you real soon, okay?
All right. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it,
Mike.
Later.
Have a good one.
I think we're going on Hot Rod Drag Week or Sick Week. I think it's happening. Sick Week would be tough because it's in the winter, right? It's in February. But I do
just
think
get a house at Bradenton, man, and we'll be ready to go,
bro. I mean, I really think that that's like the direction that I want to go. I think that that's an important thing for us to accomplish. And I do want to take a real quick second and actually give me 2 seconds here while I get these script reads pulled up. JT, say something.
2 seconds. Why do I have to say something funny? Mike.
that worked, man. Good job. That was pretty good. Say something. Mike. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to take you a quick second and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com today and make sure you tell them we sent you. Guys, we have a hell of an interview coming up. I was actually able to connect earlier this morning with the one and only Ned Dunphy, fresh off this historic happening on Hot Rod Drag Week. And boy, oh boy, did he have a lot to say. Earlier today, we were lucky enough to catch up with the one, the only Ned Dunphy, straight off a dominating performance at this year's 2025 running of Hot Rod Drag Week. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the fastest man in America when it comes to street cars, Ned Dunphy.
Round of applause.
What's up? Round of applause, man.
Yeah,
there we go.
There we go. Yeah.
My goodness, man. No, thank you so much for making some time for us. We appreciate it a bunch. I got to ask, just to start this off, what does the recovery process look like post drag week? Are you just a zombie?
Yeah. So it's funny. I walked into the house Saturday night, wife's talking to me on the couch, literally falling asleep in her face. And you haven't eaten well, you haven't slept well, you're sunburned beyond sunburn. Just even if you put on lotion, it doesn't matter. So the recovery is, as I'm getting older here, 3, 4, 5 days. Right here we are Wednesday afternoon, and I'm just now starting to feel like a human being again. In my hands, and if you can see, they're starting to shed some of the grease, but it takes a while. So here we are.
Man, I tell you, I think that's one of the things that, as much as we wrote about and Hot Rod has written about over the years and all the various media outlets that cover this race, it's no doubt a test of mechanical marvels, and it's insane what these machines are able to do. But I always go back to that human element where it's like, these guys haven't slept, they're likely dehydrated, it's absolute insanity. So I think that that is something that we probably don't talk about enough. You know what I mean? Is that this is a real challenge just for you guys as human beings, for you guys, physically and mentally. So I guess let's rewind. For those that don't know, we actually have a mutual friend that I kind of became aware of, Ned Dunphy, via many moons ago, before you were on the, super fast world record setting drag racing scene. You were a major player in the street strip, roll racing, top speed world with our buddy Ron Mowen at Vengeance Racing. And I'm just curious, when I first encountered your name, it was a twin turbo V10 Dodge Viper street car that you were chasing 6-second quarter mile times and 200 mile an hour elapsed times. How did your drag racing journey start?
Yeah. So you're dead on, by the way, with the fact pattern. And FYI, as a little plug here, that car is still available for sale right now. It's just, as I've graduated, it's in perfect condition. It's rebuilt, but I've changed my interest on the format. So I bought the car in 2014, 2015, went up to Vengeance Racing, which is only about 15 miles from my house, and pulled up in the parking lot. And they hadn't done much Viper work. Most of their stuff was, Chevrolet, late model Chevy, GMC, etc. And so they took a look at it. The platform was made, space for turbos, space for intercoolers. They said, if you give us a try, we'll give you a try. Let's do it. And so the relationship was born. And for the 9 years that went after that, we kept going after first half-mile racing, which is a really neat format. You're not door-to-door. It's your mile per hour at the end of the half mile. And you get as many tries as you can during the day, and the highest mile per hour wins for each class over the weekend. And so very relaxed, great place to start off. We went 1,000 horsepower, then 1,500, then 2,000. We finally got to about 3,000 horsepower, went 230 mile an hour, and we set the record actually for the Viper half mile, which has now been trumped. That's what happens to records, right? They get trumped. But from that, we're like, let's go quarter mile. So we changed up the car a little bit, changed the gearing, changed the suspension, and started going along with the streetcar takeover guys and doing roll racing and dig racing. And the roll racing, as you know, is the hardest thing in the world to police. He jumped, I jumped, you jumped, over 40 mile an hour start, or all kinds of stuff. So I didn't like the politics that were involved in winning the roll racing. So graduated back towards the dig, right? Laser beam to laser beam. You either you win or you don't, and no one's fighting at the end of the line.
I love roll racing theory. You know, like I love the idea of it, and I love the idea of guys being able to drive their car in and maybe not have to put slicks on it, right? Be able to be relatively successful still with a street tire and wheel on it, a 19 or a 20-inch rear wheel, and the car still looks like a street car. But you're right. What a calamity. I've never seen a roll race like go off without a hitch, unfortunately. Right. As cool as it is, I completely support Ned's move towards racing from a dig, man.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, we all had that moment. And the moment for me was out at South Carolina. Vengeance took me out there for a test and tune with an automatic transmission, trans brake, bump, and I got to let go of the button for the first time. And I thought I got rear-ended by an 18-wheeler. I was like, what is that? Right? And that was like low power back in the day. So that urge, that G-force out of the hole got me hooked on the dig racing. And so we go out and do a bunch of that stuff, right? But it wasn't a lot of door-to-door. So then all of a sudden I start to go door-to-door at the streetcar takeover in Texas 2K. And man, what a thrill that was, right? Can you cut a light better than the guy next to you? And all that stuff. So the addiction began, and 9 years of campaigning that car. And then all of a sudden we're like, let's put a bigger engine in. And we got to the point where that chassis can't take a bigger engine. So we built the new car that I'm racing now, the Blue Viper.
That took quite a while, right? I mean, we kind of followed this build for a bit of time. There was some stories, you know, modifying the nose and just kind of really having to start from scratch on this thing. And then to kind of see it come to fruition throughout this process, that's been, you know, pretty cool for us to watch on this end.
Yeah, I donated a perfectly good Dodge Viper, right? That's a number 75 of 150 launch edition. So the Viper guys hate me for that. And Ron hooked me up with RK Racecraft, Ryan Rakestraw. And one of Ron's guys, Jay Clegg, used to work with Ryan, and Ryan's a chassis shop, right? And RK builds some of the best chassis out there. He turnkeys them for Proline, right? And so he's like, I don't usually do these from ground up. He said, but I'll give you a try. And so we did it. It took 3 years, but a lot of that was, you know, COVID comes, delays come, parts come. I was patient. And so we took a perfectly good Viper, destroyed it, and then made it into an even better Viper, which is what I got today.
Oh yeah, you've got a very better Viper. I'm curious, so what was the process like? What was it? You kind of talked about that aha moment when you were, you know, at the House of Hook. Was there an aha moment as it relates to the drag and drive world? Because while I haven't competed in one, we were lucky enough to tag along. I've been to Hot Rod Drag Week for many times over the years, following it as a media member. In 2020, I don't know when it was, a few years ago, we participated as part of the Sick Ward on Sick Week and followed along with I believe it was the first ever or second ever Sick Week.
Yeah,
and
it was 2022.
Yeah, and I was just blown away by the community that exists in that particular pocket of drag racing. I always tell people that I feel blessed to operate in this space because it is just chock full of incredible people with incredible stories and from a wide variety of backgrounds. And I love that about it. But Drag and Drive seems uniquely special in that, you know, it's not tied to crazy purse money. It's not tied. It is a true test of will and mechanic ability and staying power, and it's all for bragging rights. So was there I want to try that? Like, what caught your eye about Drag and Drive? Did you go, or was there a car you saw and thought I can do that? How'd that play out?
Yeah, I think it was the desire to spend more time in my car. So you go drag race and you sit in the lanes for, I don't know, hopefully, you know, a couple minutes. Sometimes it takes longer. You make a pass and you're out of the car and that's it. And so being able to put a race car like this on the street and drive it for 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, that was the romantic part of it for me to start off with. Like, man, I get to spend hours a day in my race car. And then after day one, you're like, oh God, I got to spend hours a day in my race car.
Right.
It was the good and the bad at the same time. And so we went out on that first drag week, 2023. It was our first try. And Wes, to your point, the community of races around you is supportive. It's what do you need, right? Going down the road, there's sort of a code of a thumbs up or like we're good. So if someone gives you a thumbs up or we're good, you drive by. If they're like waving to you or they're under the car, you typically stop and help. Most people give thumbs up even if they're in a tough spot because they're going to fix it. It takes time. But when that first week we had we broke a spring, we got methanol in the intake, we knocked the intake to the moon, right? So that was day 4, I think it was. And we had to get back to day 5. But the people that surrounded us on day 4 with what do you need? What can we help with? The answer was not much. This drag week has rules on who can touch your car, but the caring. And then we showed up at that last day and people clapped. Like we made I don't know what it was, a 60-mile-an-hour pass with duct tape on the intake. But they were like, yeah, I couldn't believe how many people cared that we finished the week. And
I've got goosebumps. Yeah. I mean, that's an awesome story.
It was awesome. So I think that was
so that's kind of how, and you know what is funny, because I had a conversation with Dennis Taylor, Alex's dad, who obviously has built her brand on the back of drag and drive competition. And he said something very similar to me. He's like, man, you work on these things forever and you spend all this money and then you're in it for like 6-7 seconds at a time. I want to be in the thing all damn day. And I'm like, you know what? I feel you. I totally understand. Like, you're spending all this money.
But then a couple years later, they're riding down the highway with their headsets on and can't even hear each other, can't even hear yourself think, and the reality kind of sets in. But hey, that's part of it. I mean, it's part of the man versus machine battle that is drag and drive. But I heard your name, I mean, more frequently and kind of more into our realm when you brought out your Radio versus the World car here recently and campaigned that. So how did you go? I mean, you're just kind of, at this point, it seems like you're all over the place, but how did you go from, accelerating through the drag and drive, and the roll racing into what's, probably the craziest and most unlimited form of door car racing in Radio versus the World?
Yeah. So I'm telling you right now, I'm having an identity crisis, right? 2026 is up in the air. I don't know if I want to go drag and drive, NHRA, PDRA, IHRA, duck radial, buck radial. Like, I don't know. So we're all chapters are open right now to figure out what's best. But rewind back, which is taking the Blue Viper out of drag and drive mode and putting it into radial mode and then showing up and beating dedicated radial racers. Like, I don't always want to be the underdog. I want a car that can win. But when you win with a car that wasn't expected to win, that was like on a high. And I beat some big names in 2024 season. I finished 8th. Sometimes it was a light. Sometimes it was luck. Sometimes they wheelied. Who cares? A win's a win. And so, but that car, we went at 371, 213, and that was tapped out. Right? It's quick for what it is, but not as quick as these guys run an RVW. So the second RVW car, which is the Camaro, was purpose built for that. And frankly, Eric Dillard over at Proline with Ryan Rakestraw, I'm like, man, you'd be a good fit for the RVW, and to build you a car that actually could win. Let's go do that. So that's the current 25 season, and we've got our finale coming up here October for No Mercy, which is a double points. I'm sitting 3rd, so I think if I win, you got to do the math. I can move 2nd for sure, maybe 1st. It depends on how the other 2 guys, which is Ken Cortuccio and Chris Daniels, finish around me. So it's gonna be an exciting conclusion to the 2024 season.
Yeah, dude, you've got a lot going on. That's a super exciting thing. And I got to tell you, that was one of the conversations I had with Ron at Vengeance, was like, man, this guy is destined for big league drag racing. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that we're going to see this dude in the upper tiers of our sport. And that's exactly what has happened. And it's an exciting thing. I got to see you run the RVW car up at US 131 during the shakedown, which I thought was for moving that event around as much as it has. I thought that was a really successful event, and I hope that they continue building on it. But I got to tell you, I want to see you put, I mean, we can make it official right here, but I want that thing to have big tires on the back of it and headed south to Bradenton for a little dance in the winter, because I think you're a great fit for what we're doing. I love to see a fresh face involved in this sport. Like, we're blessed to have all these guys that have been here for years and years and years and decades, but it's important to inject new blood into this and to bring some fresh faces in. So we need to have that conversation sooner rather than later. I have some like technical drag week conversations that I want to have, because our audience is so hardcore. Like, we pride ourselves on, we've spent a lot of time and energy trying to grow and build the sport, but we also recognize that Drag Illustrated is as much a trade journal as it is a fan media outlet, right? These are people that are studying what you're doing or whatever. And I know that when I was reading Mike Galimi's feature stories on you on Hot Rod Drag or hotrod.com in the weeks and months leading up to Drag Week, there was a lot of talk about improving the oiling system, improving the cooling system. And I would love to just kind of talk about some of the things, because I'm sure that experience that was as tough as it sounded like it was in 23, the progress that you made and all you learned from that likely sets you up for the success you had this season. So can you kind of tell us, you talked about the intake blowing off. I think everybody saw the videos and the pictures of that crazy moment, but what kind of moves did you guys make, to make the car as seemingly reliable as it was last week?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I'll tell you, the track side of the racing, I think, is the easy part, believe it or not. And I got Jamie Miller, Red Hot Mafia, on the tuning. And so chassis and tuning, he can dial the car and you go down the track perfectly every time. The street, though, this is the killer for all of the drag and drive cars. So without going through year 1, year 2, I'll just tell you that heat was our biggest issue. Oil temperature, and the water and oil would climb together and they'd get out of control, where we're on a highway unable to stop. And so oil temperature is 240, 250, and you're like, oh goodness, right? I hope it doesn't just conk out on us here in the middle of the highway. We'd pull over and cool, and taking a 150 or 250 mile drive and splitting it into 30-minute increments was mind numbing. Like, took us days to get there, it felt like. So the first thing was chasing the temperature, right? More and bigger coolers. And the Viper's got this really round, sleek body, so there's not a room to stuff a big old Freightliner radiator like a lot of the guys do up in the front. But RK Racecraft got real creative, got one in there, tipped it to 45, put a huge Spall fan on the back of it, and ran big, I think they were dash 12 lines, right? So just that way it could flow really quickly through the system. We also sped up the oil pump so we'd have heavier volume. In conjunction with the valve train, we took by the week. Okay, I hire people to tell me what the best combination is, so I'm a little bit not technical here. But the lobe of the can, we made it ramp up and down less than it was. It was steeper. The rocker arm, the ratios, we lowered the ratios. They were really steep, and we don't need that with the turbo. We can just push boost through it and make the same power. So let me see what else is doing. That was the major things. And then, please go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what about the header setup? I mean, it's a unique look for a turbo car, and it looks like it's got essentially header. I mean, it's a header going into a collector, but it's got zoomies. I mean, it's got everything going on under there. What does that play into as far as what you're talking about is the improvements to make this thing live and possibly perform better on the street?
Right. Well, number 1 was attention, putting the 5 pipes on the side. Number 2 was cool factor, right? Because it's a V10 and it looks like with the hood down. Number 3 was a little bit of a trick out. If we didn't pop the hood, is it a blower car? Who knows? And then number 4 is you got the big old, what do they call the horn there that comes out for a turbo car, which looks the bullhorn, all isolated on the side on a big wide fender. But nothing to do with heating. And the 4 pipe arrangement we started with had back pressure. So we realized the 5th pipe actually became functional, right? So headers 4 to 1 to 4, no back pressure, and then the wastegate is the 5th. And so you can't really tell the wastegate's not working until you look close and it's clean and the rest are dirty. So it was getting the first test drive we did with that extra oil cooler, and we got control of it at, like, on a hot day in Atlanta to 205, and it never climbed again, was number 1. And then on the water side, increasing the fans, right? So we put shrouds in the back, and then we, on the nose of the car, channeled the air only to the radiator. It can't go around, it can't go over the top of the motor. Those little changes took care of the heat. So that with the valve train change, and we went out and did our test drive of 90 miles, we got like 205 oil, 190 water. It just sat there on a 90-degree Atlanta day. We were like, oh, yes. So now, drag week 2025, we're idling in traffic at 194 oil, water's 175 the whole week. And we were high-fiving. The other is Jay, he tunes as we drive. He's watching the EGTs, right, the exhaust gas temps, and he's adjusting the trim to each cylinder to get within 20 degrees because you have nothing to do in the car besides look at a map. So literally he's sitting there the whole time. Every time we moved 20 degrees, he'd fix it, but it made the motor happy on those long cruises.
It's insane to think about what goes into trying to make because I made a post on this on Facebook whenever you were like midway through the week that I don't know that we fully understand how absolutely insane it is. I mean, we're not that far away from funny cars being 6-second quarter-mile cars. And now we've got street cars and, street cars. I mean, yours fits the bill. There's no doubt about it. It's made the trip. But it is kind of hard to believe that we're able to do this. I mean, what can you say about just the technology? I mean, even his ability, Jay's ability to tune that stuff as you go. And that is an absolute marvel of modern mechanics, if you ask me.
It is. It also a testament to OEM stuff, right? That we turn the key off the dealership and go drive it, and it never gives you a headache. So credit to Fuel Tech for the components, the measurement devices on board, all of our meters. The more we want, the more we can have. And so that's all I can speak to is, like, frankly, being able to measure every single increment, but having somebody with a skill set to understand what it means and how to fix it, where there's no AI, there's no computer that's adjusting for you. It has to be manually done. And these systems for racing you tell them to do something, it does it. So
it's crazy to me. And I tip my cap to everybody that you mentioned and all these different brands, because that's really been one of the big needle movers in our sport over the course of the last decade or so, is just this influx of new tech, and guys that are thinking outside of the box and kind of bringing. I've had this conversation with the guys at Fuel Tech. Like, I remember the first time I clicked around on the Fuel Tech software, I'm like, wow, it's cool to finally feel like I'm messing with modern electronics. Like, you know, I think about what we can do with our phones and like the way a lot of these systems used to work, where it felt like you basically needed a Windows 95 computer with a 3.5-inch drive on it to be able to run this stuff. And it's nice to see like technology and drag racing keeping up, or even perhaps surpassing what we use in our day-to-day lives as consumers. Some more kind of questions along the lines of towing a trailer, I find is unique. Is there any strategy to that? Like, do you know how much that, I mean, what's that thing weigh? I mean, how much are you tugging along? Do you even know?
Yeah, Mark Mickey ought to be doing a commercial with my car in the trailer, right? He really should. That transmission, so it's an M&M 400 with a lockup. Trailer's about 1,500 pounds, but we balance it so it's seesaw-ish, you know, meaning our heavy tools, our heavy engine parts are over the axle, and then other things are spread. So we get it where you could pick it up by hand if you had to on the nose, but two guys could never pick it up off the ground. And it's got its own brakes, thank God, because the carbon ceramic brakes, when they got wet, were useless on the street. And so I was using the gain controller on the trailer brake to slow us down coming down these big Pennsylvania hills. And it was sketchy, but they worked, thank goodness. And I'd rather cook the trailer brakes than wreck the car.
Oh, 100%, man. Do you guys have to carry with you like a lot of specialty tools, or do you guys like, is that part of the thought process where it's like, hey, we need to make sure we have a socket and extension that can do this specific task? Or, I mean, what's that kind of look like?
Yeah, so Wes, the weeks leading up to, I have a storage unit. I keep the stuff. We spread the entire storage unit out like a yard sale on tables. And like, we thought to ourselves, okay, what if we have to change a valve spring? What do we need? What if we need to change the rear diff? What do we need? What if we need to do a piston or a valve? What do we need? And we put all those parts down. And then we looked and went, that's never going to fit in the trailer. Right. So now you do the, what do we really need? And like, we carried a spare rear end, thank goodness, because we shattered one on day one and it was in our trailer. If it was in my big trailer, I would have been DQ on day one. So that is the most, I think I used the phrase terrifying during the week, like your life in that little box. And for my car, AutoZone and all these other great auto parts stores don't have the race car parts, right? Even relays, we lost a couple relays. So I gave up dome lights because the turn signal stopped working because our trailer became unplugged, drugged the cord on the ground and shorted the system. And so what we did, we pulled over, we bought a new trailer plug, plugged it in and had to rewire. We started giving stuff up during the week. But like, yeah, we didn't bring those relays. Never thought we'd need the relays. Next year we'll bring relays. The list goes on and on.
It's crazy to me, man. So from a performance standpoint, you finished the week with a 617 with a 5 final average ET, 247 miles an hour, which again is just mind-numbing. Like, what's your kind of takeaway from that level of performance? Because I can go on and on and on with the hyperbole about how insane this is, but I'm curious, like, how did that performance, you know, line up with your expectations? Was this everything I wanted to accomplish and more? I know there were a lot of eyes on that final day in Maryland. Like, are we going to see a 5-second run out of the blue and white Viper, which it clearly has got the juice to do? But like, what was your kind of, you know, I know racers are always harder on themselves than anyone. So what was your kind of takeaway from the overall performance? Like, awesome that you won. I'm sure you're proud of that, but did this live up to what you wanted to accomplish personally?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I hate to sound like a sore winner, but we ended up going slower than we had hoped. And leading into the event, I stuck my chest out and said, we're going to average 5s. Right? I got to be careful calling these shots because I'm missing on them. And even when Freiberger and Loans were coming around with the camera like I was doing, 6, whatever. We never got a 6-0 anything, but that's what we were gunning for. This is the plight of a drag racer, though, right? The tire didn't work. The track was too sticky, not sticky enough. We missed on something. So like we hugged, we high-fived, we were pumped, like, because we did it. But the fact the record was a 619, and we went to a 617. Sorry about that. Okay. I would tell you we were aiming to do a little bit better, but it now leaves us like hungry to go back and do it again. And on the way back from Drag Week 25, we have made a massive list of Drag Week 2026. So I'll just tell you, like, we're over-energized now. And yeah, the crowd watching the announcement, and we put in a spicy tune-up, and we just spun the slick all the way down the track. It didn't have too much wheel speed going for the 5. But you got 1 or 2 a day. You don't have those incrementals to get there. I need some more incrementals. So testing is going to be the answer now that we get the street stuff figured out.
And it is, I'm imagining, like, I was thinking about that too, because you're racing largely at kind of various times of the day. Mm-hmm. It's hard to forecast, right? I mean, you don't know who you're going to be running behind, how many cars are going to have ran.
You don't get that progression like you do at a typical drag race where it's like, all right, you get a test session, Q1, Q2, and you start chipping away at it. You know the prep, when they're stopping to prep the track, who you're running behind, all that stuff. You don't get any of that. And that the 5-second deal, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago where gosh, it's escaping my mind right now, but it's been something that these guys have been shooting for forever. And
Bailey went 599 with a 1 at, was it at VMP?
Yeah, but for the average, it seems like with
that was
performance
a
of these
one-time
cars,
deal,
right?
Yeah,
it seems like with the performance of these cars nowadays that it should be something that could be attainable, but it's still not there. It's kind of like the 3-second in Extreme Pro Stock. We've been talking about it forever, and only recently did it finally fall. So that's good to hear that that's on the horizon possibly for next year.
Yeah, the problem is I think there's going to be a bunch of other guys that show up to do it too, which is a great problem. I said it multiple times, like running sort of alone in the Unlimited, and I know Goldstone was capable, but it was a brand spanking new car. Lutz, lost motor on day 0, unfortunately, so he was out. So like winning the Unlimited class was not the big deal. Winning the record was the big deal. Had we done it with a 5 at the end, cherry on top, I would have been ecstatic. So Wes, moderately disappointed, but overly happy is my answer.
Well, yeah, because it's like I'm excited whenever, like for me, this is like the relentless spirit of the drag racer. This is what makes our sport special. That like you said, I love that line, sore winner, but there's a lot of truth in that. And I have those conversations with racers all the time. It's like, yeah, we ticked this box, we ticked that box, but there are still several boxes that we have left to tick. And I think that's exciting for us as fans. It's like
left to tick.
It's like, this is what kind of makes you get out of bed going, you know what? We're not done yet. So I'm excited to see kind of how this thing unfolds. Were there any surprises for you? Like, it looked to me like you're tearing up some tires. Like were there any surprises or anything that kind of caught you off guard during the course of this week and ultimately winning the title of fastest street car in America?
Yeah, I'd say learning curve, right? So the tires is one of the key items for us. Run compound, our car is heavy, and you're racing on a hybrid surface. They're prepping for sort of radial and slick, and we're in lanes behind everybody else, so there's no cadence to who might be going right in front of you. Sometimes there was a bald spot, sometimes it was over glued, and we learned that the decel on the heavy car with the wrong compound was chunking the tire. So, we talked to a bunch of people. Are we safe? Are we safe? Like, yeah, you're safe. But then we started losing traction. So we have a new set of tires shipped ahead. We put them on, and now, of course, no hits on them. It's a different compound, hence why we're spinning a bit. So that was one of those where we probably should have started with a different compound, didn't know. And the other thing, too, going to different tracks. So, like, for instance, I think it's on Maple Grove. It goes uphill, and then it disappears over the edge. And so, thankfully, though, the crew out there, they saw me come and chutes open, and there's a guy giving me the wave, like, come on, come on, come on, meaning there's more track behind this. Right? There was no time to go walk the track or go check it out, but that was 250 mile an hour flying into the blind. Like, I hope there's something over this ridge, not just me.
I hope there's something over this ridge too, man. So did it, what was the drive like? I mean, you talked about using the trailer brakes to manage these Pennsylvania hills, but I found it interesting that like the route to me was like super unique. Like that part of the country, it was just a really cool, I mean, like when's the last time we've been talking about New Media Dragway? You know what I mean? Like, I thought it was cool to see a track like that that's kind of off the beaten path and isn't like an NHRA national event track getting this kind of attention. What was the drive like? I mean, I'm sure, you're up there in hills and Amish country and all this stuff. What was the scenery like? I mean, it had to be a beautiful, beautiful thing.
It was. Correct one thing. It was New Media with the uphill over the ridge. That was the one. Okay. Because that's why I think I went a 610 or something, 611. So beautiful is the answer. But in the race car, so let me tell you, the best part of the routes is the people. And like, you never believe how many people are parked in the end of their driveway with kid or kids just to see you go by. So like, slow down, give them a rev, give them a wave. And like, you're sitting at a red light, people will come up next to you and then ride with you for a while. Motorcycles, guys with GoPros on their chins are chasing us down the road. So it's like the weirdest thing ever is, despite being alone on the Pennsylvania roads, you are not alone. And most everyone knows you're coming. So, kudos to Hot Rod Drag Week for broadcasting those routes, because people do parade line them for our pull-throughs. So now they'll go out in the fields, and when you have a breakdown lane or somewhere where you can get off, your mind is at ease. When you get into these single lanes and it's a deep ditch off the side, I'm just telling you, because we locked the cam last year, just middle of the night, silence all of a sudden with no momentum. So like, what would we do in the dark, in the rain, without a turnoff? But it's a street car. It's got to go. Secondly, there was a construction zone. We know they paint the manhole covers pink so you don't hit them. Well, like my oil pan is that high off the ground. So we're doing slalom through the construction zone, trying not to rip an oil pan off. But again, we said to each other, it has to be a street car. We got to do this. So now you get out to the backcountry, though, the corn rows, you know, or soy, whatever they're doing, the beautiful farm buildings. Like that's one of those, you just have a few moments where you're smiling. You're going over these huge rivers. You can see the water, like in a drag car that has just been 247 mile an hour and leaving one crowd, heading to the next. So like coming back to real life stinks because that was an absolutely magical week. And now I'm going to be sitting in Atlanta traffic, you know, without a race car, without people waving to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Atlanta traffic. Oh man, that's bad.
Oh yeah,
That's
we could do a whole episode
worse
of
in the nation.
Yeah. But Wes,
about
I'll tell you,
Atlanta
what
traffic.
People don't see in the car. So I'm shifting 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Lock the converter, unlock the converter manually, right? Because it doesn't do that. And I can't tell you how many times we pulled up to a red light. I forgot to lock the converter, but we stall. And we're looking at each other like, what happened? And I'm like, oh, there's the green light. I left it locked. And so like bad on me, but exhaustion sets in. And then the braking too, like make sure you're not in neutral because this thing wants to pull itself along. So we're waving, we're smiling, but inside my brain's going a mile a minute. My co-pilot's like, watch the curb, left turn ahead. And we can't speak. So we're screaming at each other. We're giving hand signals. It's brutal.
You're doing the rally racing thing. Left 20, you know, I mean, that is hard right.
Hard right now. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, no, I think it's amazing. So on the heels of that, like talking about the beautiful scenery and that support, because I think that is something, I don't know that we don't see it. We need more of it. And I don't know how to create it in drag racing. I actually was watching YouTube videos of War in the Woods over the weekend and seeing all these cars coming back up like the return road, which they have like uniquely positioned there where it's like right behind the grandstands and like what little grandstands they have. So you have these drivers coming up after a run and getting the hand claps and getting the high fives and they're hanging their hand out the window. And I'm going, that's such an important moment for these guys. Like that is the validation. That's what makes staying up all night, spending money you don't have or shouldn't be spending. Like that's what makes it all worth it. And I like, that was my experience on drag week. Like you're driving along, you see these kids with signs on the side of the road and, you know, gas. I remember I went on Hot Rod Power Tour, which was kind of the pre-drag week back in like 2002. I was a full puller or whatever they call it, long hauler. I did the whole thing and I was blown away. Like we drive through these little bitty towns and the gas stations would have signs out like, we're out of gas. Don't stop here. Like we have no food. We have no gas. Keep going. And it's an amazing thing. And I'm curious, like, is your phone ringing with guys going, hey, I kind of want to try that. I mean, do you think that we'll see an influx of some new people? Because sometimes you need someone like a Ned Dunphy to come along and upset the apple cart, like in the best of possible ways.
Yeah, or kind of revive not revive it, but refresh it almost. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago where there's a lot of this drag and drive going on. And so how did you kind of like stand out and reinvigorate, you know, the original? And I think that's what you guys have done along with Goldstone. I think that these guys have sort of put this thing back on the map or back at the forefront of this scene and generated a lot of interest, like you said, for next year. I think that what you said earlier is just a little bit of a tease as to what we could see next year and possibly other guys joining us. So have you heard more about that?
Yeah. And so the first part, the return roads, right? Like, so Cecil County was one of those where you drive in front of the entire grandstand and you drive under the tower who's announcing, right? So they're like, hey, here comes that. And like people were standing up like on the way by, which for me, like an average Joe, right? I don't race every day. That feels so cool, right? And like people like legitimately happy that we made a pass or in the big round of applause. So that was super cool. I know you can't reformat every single track, but oftentimes you never see the driver after the pass. They're just back in the pits and it's over. And so phone, that's the thing. So my phone, the pass isn't over and texts are coming in and like Facebook posts are coming in. It's like, I can't catch up with it. And we still have to work on the car. So coming back, part of the recovery is catching up with people. Sorry, I couldn't respond. But so then the third part of that though is, you know, I think what people ought to do for advice is like find one of these local ones, right? So Sick Week runs around to a lot of different locations. Drag Week's sort of a big, you know, one location. And there are other ones where they do maybe a 1 day or 2 day. Give it a try, right? See if it's right for you. Even if it's a 40, 50 mile drive, because you'll get the urge. And we've met now 3 years in a row, the diehards, right? The repeat racers and the same guys. Oh, like, hey, you again. They do every drag and drive around the country. So if there's 400 cars, there's 150 guys that don't miss one. But then like they did the drivers meeting, like put your hands up. How many people's first drag week? I couldn't believe it. It had to be 25% of the hands went up, which is spectacular, right? So maybe part of the question is how do we lure some more heavy hitters out of the woodwork, right? And that's why like I think we need the Lutz and the Larsons and those to come out and like maybe, me taking down a street outlaw means a mortal can beat a street outlaw, right? Like, let's go. Yeah. And for all the guys I race RVW with, and Buck, your series, like those cars are probably too far away from becoming a street car, but they all have another car in the stable. Put some radiators on it. Let's go. Let's, see how good you are on the street. It's so fun.
No, I agree with that. I mean, and I think that looking at Bryant Goldstone's new car, that car was an NHRA race winning Pro Mod car not too terribly long ago. And I've always talked about, I think if there is a good investment, and that's a very loaded phrase, I don't know that there is a good investment in drag racing.
No.
But Pro Mod cars, there's a lot of different ways that you can run these things. And there's a lot of different places for you to kind of get to scratch that itch, whether you want to race high level quarter mile in the NHRA, you want to go PDRA, IHRA, Midwest, you want to go RVW racing. For a while, and I know the cars are getting a little more purpose built with engine setback and things like that. But you could still, I know plenty of guys that have a radial setup. Jason Lee comes to mind, right? This guy is the reigning champion of the Radial Outlaw series, and that car makes the switch from RVW trim to Pro Mod trim. Yeah. And I think that, there's a lot of different ways to get use out of these cars. And I think that's a good thing, right? Yeah. That you can make this big investment. There's a lot of places to race it and a lot of different kind of competitions to enter into. But I'm glad you brought that up because we need that conversation back where it's Bailey and Schroeder and Goldstone and Lutz and Larson and now Dunphy. Because I remember when we went on Sick Week, it was where are these guys that we've read about? You know what I mean? Because it kind of felt like the attention was moving more towards the smaller tire stuff and the more street showroom stock appearing cars, which is fantastic. But I do think something's got to be the tip of the sword. Something's got to be the thing that excites or gets ignites the imagination of the masses. And nothing does it like a 3,000 horsepower street car that's running bottom sixes at nearly 250, man.
Yeah. And, so this is no knock on the drag racing because I do it, but it's rinse and repeat. Right, get there, test, qualify, eliminate, pack up, go home. And it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. This is completely different. And so if you want to try something different, waking up in the morning 6:30 at the track at 8:30, make a lick between 9 and 10, put your trailer on, do a drive, stop at a checkpoint, get barbecue, get an ice cream, meet people, and then basically finish at the hotel. Sometimes there's people around, sometimes there isn't. Beers in the parking lot, whatever. And then get up the next morning and do it. So yeah, it's rinse and repeat, but the scenery changes, the track changes, the people change, and it's just so different than sitting in your trailer with just your crew. You're meeting tons and tons of people. And on the road, the coolest thing, the caravans of racers, you spot another drag weeker from a million miles away, tires up in the roof, a trailer, or by the way, unshaven, sunburned, dirty hands. You can spot the drag week people a mile away. But it's a brotherhood, sisterhood as you're out there on the road together. So I'd say people got to try it. I'm doing the drag racing. I love it. I love it for what it's worth, but this is a change. And there isn't call to lanes, 30 minutes, let's go. You go make your pass. You got your time window. You have all day to do it. Now, if you have to make two, the stress of number two is a little bit more. The stress of number three is massive. If we miss, we're turning in a 20-second time slip. But it's not as intense. And so imagine that, being able to race without the intensity, same kind of fanfare, and then the cool scenery with the cool checkpoints. And, you feel like you've accomplished a mission when the week's over.
Dude, I think we just made one hell of a sales pitch for going drag and drive racing. We may need to send an invoice over to Sick Week and Drag Week because.
Or you're thinking about the Drag Illustrated team putting together a ride for next.
Trust me,
we said that originally a couple 2 or 3 years ago that we needed to put one together. Take the whole squad.
I'm telling you, man, I want to knock a bunch of compression out of the motor in my Corvette and jet it up and go. And here's the thing, I don't, based on what I can see is I was blown away by the amount of 13, 14, 15 second quarter mile cars and trucks that were involved in this deal. And it's all relative. You know what I mean? Because to those guys, obviously we know it's not the same thrill that Ned Dunphy's having going 250, but it's relative. And if you haven't done that and it's your career best or the best pass you've ever made, it feels the same. The gratification and validation feels the same. So I think that's one of the coolest parts of this is that, I'm looking through the results here and I'm seeing everything from your 617 to a whole slew of cars that ran bottom sevens, which it feels bad to overlook. You know what I mean? And there was a name that I was shocked by. Mike, I don't know if you noticed this. Steve Spiess was there.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I mean, this is a former
NHRA,
IHRA Pro Stock guy who was like a world beater. And I was watching the live stream one day and they said, Steve Spees. And I'm like, wait, can't be the same one. So I go look into it. It's like, sure as shit. Here's a former like big time pro stock racer that has dived into the drag and drive world. And he ran good. He got second place, went 7-0s over the course of the week at 200 plus. But I also see tons of mid 9-second cars, tons of 10-second and 11-second cars. Man, that's nothing to bat your eyes at.
No,
I mean, you're not that far removed from that yourself, Ned.
Right. I know. And what I was going to say, even so, think about this. They're in the same burnout box I'm in. They're sitting in front of the same crowd. They're coming down the same return road I am. Right. So for the guy that's got the car he's worked on and is super proud of, because there's so many sweet cars in that ride, even if they're not super fast. And some guys do these mind bending, burnouts because you're on camera. And also Loans and Freiberger announced me and them the same, which is awesome. Right. So I think that's part of the allure too. You get out there in your Chevelle, you've been tooling on. A lot of guys ride with, their brother, their father. Like there's a lot of like coolness that's happening. And so, that's the magic of it, which they never have a chance to run NHRA because 15-second car is not going to qualify,
Right. Absolutely, man. It's the accessibility, the diversity, and the community, like in drag and drive, I truly believe to be unique. You nailed it when you said a brother and sisterhood. That's exactly what I see there. Something of a fraternity. And I'm glad to see you kind of leading the charge, Ned. It's a great thing for drag racing. And hey, we appreciate you taking the time. I hope we have a conversation very soon about a certain letter that may end up in your mailbox, because there's a big dance coming up in Bradenton, Florida that I'd love to see you be a part of, man. But thank you so much for your time. Congratulations. Much deserved, well-earned title, fastest street car in America, Ned Dunphy's Blue and White Viper. We can't wait to talk to you again soon, brother.
Thank you, Wes. It was an honor to be on. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ned.
Wow. Yeah, what a deal, dude. I mean, great. Ned is fantastic. I told him this, but I said, dude, you were like really well-spoken. Like, you're good at this. We should do this more often. Like, what an interview, man.
Good
salesman. He is a salesman, man. Great human being. I do want to take a quick second, though, and remind you guys that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Formulated to win, proven by you. We're talking about a brand trusted by the best in the business. Ty Tutterow, Steve Torrance, Callie Mills, Spencer Hyde, Scott Palmer, Tommy Franklin. The list goes on. These aren't just weekend warriors. These are champions, killers, and contenders who rely on Redline to get it done. Formulated to win, proven by racers like you. Check out the full lineup at redlineoil.com.
It is slick.
That was pretty slick, right?
Yeah.
That might have been my best. That might have been my best Redline script read. That might be my best Redline script.
We gotta get an invoice out to Mark.
Yep. Just quickly, somebody send an invoice to Mark Beatty at Redline. We got to get paid, man. Brothers got to eat. You know what I mean? Like, we got to eat. So, all right. Well, I'm very excited about this because it feels long overdue. I've known this gentleman for what seems like forever. I mean, many, many years. He's driven some of the coolest cars, some of my favorite cars back when he was still on the nitrous side of life. But he has moved on. He has moved on to different pastures, and that's okay. But he scored an incredible career-defining win this past weekend at the Carolina 4-Wide Nationals at ZMAX Dragway. Let's give it up for the one and only Billy Banica.
What's Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yeah. That was a significant round of applause, man. We're great. Probably not as good as you are, my friend. I tell you, what a wild weekend you had out at ZMAX Dragway. I've got to, at first and foremost, congratulations, dude. Yes, I know that you were waiting for that. I was so happy for you, Cord, the whole crew, everybody involved. What a moment, buddy.
Yes, it was. Again, kind of messed up, but what they say, take it as you can get it.
That's right.
That's exactly where I was.
They'll never look in the record books and see exactly how that went down. They'll just see that win on your record.
Yeah, you'd never think you'd see a win with a negative 366 red light.
Well, dude, I gotta ask. Welcome to 4-Wide. I was gonna ask that because I feel like we'd be remiss not to mention it because you follow qualifying. I was following qualifying all throughout the weekend, and it looked like we were gearing up for one hell of a drag race, right? I mean, 570 run after another, and I'm following qualifying. I'm going, holy crap, Mike Stavrinos didn't qualify. You got cars from 571 to a 577. All the hitters, for the most part, most of the hitters are in the field. This is going to be a really interesting race day. And as things kind of clicked along, we get to that third round, the final round, which is another interesting thing, right? Like, it's a short race day, these 4 wide races, but we go up to the final, and Mason Wright's car rolls the beam. Mike Castellano leaves before the tree's activated. Sidney Frigo leaves before the tree's activated, and I'm assuming you're just following suit, right? I mean, and a little early. Can you kind of take us through that calamity of a final round? I don't want to do anything to diminish your accomplishment, but it is pretty wild and crazy.
You remember this one forever. I mean, like, right? I mean,
well, I'm, doing my normal deal, and I'm, trying not to get in there, or trying to get in there, and not go to the 2-step in an early fashion. And then I'm sitting here watching lane 3, and I didn't even know who it was, to be honest with you. The pre-stage come on, the stage come on, and then it goes out, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I hear people come up on the 2-step and then start leaving. And I'm like, to be honest with you, I don't know what I did. All of a sudden, I felt like I was on the 2-step forever. And so I just let go, so really crazy. And then I really thought I messed up, because I got out there, and I guess I was looking left and got toward the center line. I said, come on the radio and said, guys, I'm sorry, I screwed this up. And then Cord on the radio starts hollering, you won. And I'm like, no way,
What a wild scene.
It just takes one thing like that, though, for it to all go wrong. From what I understand, I talked to Justin Elks, Mason Wright's crew chief, and I think he had been running in that outside lane 4 all day, and then he was in lane 3, I believe, for the final, and he was just looking at the wrong bulb. And so he's rolling, and those were his bulbs that went pre-stage, stage, and then out. And he's like looking for his bulb to come on, and not realizing that what he had done, and then it just calamity ensues from there. So it's like, it's really crazy. And I mean, if you don't race 4 wide all the time, which you guys normally only race it once a year, I believe,
right.
And now you've done it twice, and then most of the other classes do it twice. It's tough. It seems like at this point, like 10 years in, most of the classes are getting a hang of it, and it's more consistent, but you'll still have these moments like this.
Yeah, I was watching the round before where Chip King didn't stage, and it messed everybody up that round. And I'm thinking, man, my guys put me a piece of tape on the dash and draw 4 bulbs and say, this one's yours.
This one's yours. So pay attention to this.
Pay attention. That's right.
But, I mean,
well,
it's a lot to follow. I mean, it's for a fan or a bystander, it's a lot to track. So I can't imagine being strapped into one of these loud ass 3,000-4,000 horsepower hot rods with all this pressure on your shoulders going, okay, I got to try to square up in here and make sure I know what the hell is going on. I mean, I tip my cap to you guys, because I don't think it doesn't look easy to me.
It's not. You got to pay attention. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of people say, I don't like 4 wide. I like 4 wide because of this. The first, you got 2 winners each round. And then the chance of somebody screwing up, I haven't been one. Well, I ain't gonna say I hadn't been one of them, because that was kind of a screw up in the final, but not like rolling the beam, but or not staging. But I could see where it would be very confusing, especially that lane 2 and 3, when you've got to look across the tree at the other stage bulbs.
Well, like Wes said, though, it's not, this chaos is all fun to talk about, but we don't want to diminish the fact that you've been running well. I mean, across the board, leading up or throughout the season, and especially as we've gotten to the later part of this season, I think you ran well out at Flying H during that shootout that was out there as well. You've had a very consistent, top 5, top 8, top half of the field type of car all season. And it seems like you guys have been creeping up on it, despite the fact that the Pro Charger combination seemed to be, at least early on in the season, behind the 8-ball a little bit compared to the screw blower and everything else out there, the roots blown combination. So just talk about your season and kind of how it's evolved throughout the year, getting to this point and just becoming a real threat out there.
Well, like you said, we have had a good car. It's been very consistent the past couple of years, and like you say, a top 5, 6 car, top 8 for sure. Brandon Stroud, Cord Collins, all do a great job, and we've had some other crew come and go, but now the whole crew we have now has really done a great job paying it. And of course, I can't give enough credit to Brandon. He's on top of it. He thinks, he may not say a whole lot, but he's thinking. But like I say, for the most part, we have had a really good car. The Pro Charger has been behind, I feel like 3 or 4 thousandths the whole year. Whatever happened here, we gained some ground first round. That was kind of unexpected. We weren't expecting to go 72, 73. And then pop out and go 71 low for the round, which was great. I mean, I know I have the car and the engine program to do it. It's just making it all come together.
One of the things that I was hearing a lot while we were at Flying H this summer was exactly that, how your car makes the trip so consistently. Like, you don't got to wonder if Billy Banica is going to make it to the stripe under power. Like, how much does that improve your ability to perform as a driver, having that kind of confidence in the car? That's a common theme we talk about on here a lot, but just, with the pressure that's on a driver's shoulders to be the ultimate difference maker behind the wheel, you can either be, you can be the reason we win, or you can certainly be the reason we lose. How much does that confidence in having a car that is so consistent, like, how much does that impact you, and how good? I mean, that's got to be rewarding after this long career that you've had, and you've been a part of the pro mod scene for, my goodness, well over a decade now. I mean, what's it mean to be here and to be a contender for you?
Well, it's great, obviously, and it takes a lot of pressure off of you, in a sense. Okay, you got a car that's going to make the trip. You don't have to worry about it shaking. And I'm not going to say that it don't ever shake, but the chances of that happening is a lot slimmer than me messing up on the tree. So, yeah. It puts more pressure on me because I know I have to do my job, and it'll get blamed. I'll be the blame and not the car be the blame. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, man.
So.
And with the timing of this event, with the playoff format that you guys have introduced this year, with Mike Stavrinos not qualifying, now you won the race, you're leading the points. So, yeah, I mean, that's an incredible jump. And obviously all the weight that puts on this end of the year. This is something that's not been present in NHRA Pro Mod up until this year. What was kind of the feeling in the pits once Mike didn't qualify? Kind of the door swings wide open for that team. JR Gray, he's between JR Gray and Mike Stavrinos. They've kind of been the class of the field all season. You got Mike still hanging behind in second, JR's in fifth, Sidney Frigo all the way up to third. It's just really kind of reshuffled that order. What's everybody in the Pro Mod, NHRA Pro Mod contingent saying about this playoff format?
When I didn't even know Stravinus didn't qualify till Cord or somebody mentioned it to me, and I said, "What?" I think would he get bumped out the last qualifier?
Yeah, I think so.
And I said, "Well, that's going to make an impact on points." And then talking to Ricky and knowing Ricky said he wasn't going to be at St. Louis next weekend, and then he lost first round. I said, well, that opens the door up there a little bit for me. And I knew I wasn't that far away from JR Gray. I don't remember what it was, but and obviously JR, I believe, lost first round as well. So I didn't know I was going to gain that much ground. Of course, it is still a really tight points race. Anything can happen, especially with these last two.
I find it crazy because this is one of those things where earlier this season, I think anybody that was paying attention was going, okay, this is Mike Stavrinos or JR Gray's championship to lose. I mean, they look like the class of the field, but I think it's great for the sport. And just as far as keeping people interested, I know there's a lot of mixed feelings on these things, similar to four wide. I've talked to dozens of Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock racers that absolutely hate the countdown. right? Oh my goodness, we should be, counting points all year. There should be no reset. But I got to tell you, there would be many years where the points championship would be decided in September. And I do think that it kind of negates the excitement and the juice that we get out of those October and November months, if that's the case. So hey man, I'm here for it. I think this is a real wrinkle in things. It's going to make these next two races in St. Louis and Vegas a whole lot more fun to watch than maybe they would have been. And to me, it's the story of NHRA Pro Mod. I can't count how many years that I would go out to Vegas, Halloween weekend or whatever, and you knew that it was all going to come down to Sunday in Vegas at the Strip. And I kind of love that. And I think that's what we're staring down the barrel of right now.
Yes, it will be, because like I say, anything can happen. I get lucky and go a couple rounds, the next couple races or semis, it make a big change, but it could for anybody else as well. It's just right now it's up in the air. So
it really is, man. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Not that I don't want to keep talking about Billy Banica staring down the barrel of perhaps a championship run in 2025 on the heels of his first win. But we paying attention to everything that you do. You've got a brand new car, a purpose-built, seemingly outlaw 8th mile style car. We talked to start the show about what Jimmy Taylor is doing this week out on the East Coast at Maryland International Raceway. And I'm just curious, like, being that you have a car that will fit into that format, like, does that record chasing, barrier breaking thing, does that interest you at all? Or is that just a different thing that doesn't really tickle your fancy?
Oh, it would be if we had the power to do it, but it's hard to compete with a turbo, and I'm not really interested in doing a turbo deal right now. I am still trying to pursue the Pro Charger or centrifugal charger avenue. And there's a lot on the horizon for that, with Pro Charger making change, the Hart's deal coming in. There's rumor of a 150 Charger coming out that's supposed to be able to compete with the Shrews. So with that and being able to add, of course, we went to the NHRA race Cup the week after Indy and end up running up there. But with two power outers on there, it kind of made it interesting. So.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I think that whole, seeing these nitrous systems show up on these centrifugal blower deals, and the way that they seemingly respond to it very well, it's definitely interesting, man. And I was just curious kind of what your stance on is that. I mean, we were talking about at the beginning of the show, it's hard for anybody to compete with something that's making 6+ maybe 7,000 horsepower, right? I mean, that is just, it's unique to that combination and the amount of boost those turbos will make. But it is interesting to see kind of a little bit of an interest in the kind of outlaw thing. We've always seen this kind of come and go. There will be a year or two where people are seemingly really after it, and then it'll kind of fade away. Early in 2024, a bunch of guys went down to Bradenton during a test session and were swinging for the fences. We saw Scruggs set a record, Todd Moyer set a record, a bunch of guys, Jose Gonzalez set a record. Like, this has been a theme, but then it kind of cooled off. But now it seems to be back at the forefront. So I was curious your take on it. I would also love to know kind of, when I met you, you were a nitrous guy. You were operating alongside one of my heroes. He called me last week and it was a huge deal. Shannon Jenkins, being a part of that deal. What do you make of the future now that you have crossed the chasm and gone to a centrifugal supercharger? And we've all heard the stories about, reliability being easier to race, et cetera, more manageable. Do you think there's a future, for nitrous in, quarter mile pro mod? I mean, we're down to a point where we've got one of them. Obviously there's a future for nitrous racing within the PDRA where there's a designated division, and the IHRA where there's a designated division. But do you think that there's a world in which those cars can run in a mixed pro mod eliminator?
Sure it is. Look at, obviously Ricky, he'll come out there and throw a rundown, quite often, actually. He'll be bad mouthing, but he'll end up doing it. Look at Halsey, even though he's not at that weight, but they're running with the boosted cars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them that do. Now, how reliable? I think they're more reliable than they were when I was running them. So there's been a lot of evolution there. So it's just a matter of somebody doing it, you know.
I agree. I mean, I honestly, that's like what I point to with Halsey is that you need somebody out there trying, pushing the envelope, trying to, evolve. And I give Ricky a lot of credit. And I got to be honest, if you take a step back and look at NHRA Pro Mod right now, I don't know that a whole lot of argument can be made that a nitrous car couldn't run at the front most every weekend.
That's right. I mean, like I say, Ricky run it up the first two events, and could have possibly won them. So
absolutely. And I mean, he qualified mid-pack, did he not? Well, I guess he was down there a little bit. 13th, 576 at 253 though. I mean, He had top speed did he have top speed of qualifying?
He usually does. He usually runs a big speed there. And
342. I mean, the next closest car is Billy, I believe. Mason Wright went 251.25. Yeah. But I mean, and Castellano went 251. But I mean, still a couple of mile an hour. I mean, it tells me that thing has the steam to run the number.
But we heard, I don't know what the full story is, and kind of heard about it late on the broadcast or NHRA TV broadcast when the Pro Mod was coming up, that Ricky was telling everybody that was his final event. Maybe of his career, maybe for the season. I don't know. You said he's not going to St. Louis, and I wonder if that has more to do with he's, going to the IHRA event this weekend instead, and maybe it's just a schedule conflict. But starting to hear rumblings from what I've heard that Ricky says if the rules don't change, that he's done. So it's. But then again, you hear everyone else on the other side of the coin with Pro Charger and Blown Car saying if he ran it as hard as he could run it, or if someone like Halsey that does run their stuff very hard came over there and run that the rules are favorable for nitrous cars. So unfortunately right now, I don't know that we have the answer one way or another.
Well, I mean, we know Halsey's not afraid to run one. So, right. And I think, Ricky's kind of got to watch what he does and how he does it, because he don't have the crew that he used to have either to work on.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's an uphill battle, man. I don't think we've ever seen more excitement and interest around pro modified drag racing than what we see today. I mean, just NHRA being healthy, all these sanctions and series that are having events that are back to back to back, or even on the same weekend sometimes. As far as I'm concerned, these are this is a high tide moment for pro mod drag racing, man. And Billy, I'm really thrilled to see you right in the mix of it. So headed to St. Louis, what other do you have plans beyond that until we get down to Time to Boogie in Bradenton?
We plan to take the white car to Midwest and Tulsa, and obviously run it as the legal pro mod, so to speak. And that's what it was intentionally built for until this outlaw deal all of a sudden popped up. And we still run the car at legal PDRA weight, even when we went to Ohio.
Okay.
But we tried to pull the weight out and went out there and shook the tire, or some of the weight, half of it, went out there and shook the tire, so we put it back in because we didn't have enough passes to make it work. So we got almost 100 pounds in the car without me being, obviously could lose some more weight, or somebody says,
buddy, I think you're looking good. You're looking good.
I'm working on it. It's hard, I'm going to tell you. So,
dude, it's a challenge, but it is also exciting in many ways to see our sport reaching a point where that type of thing matters.
Right.
I mean, I think that it's cool to see our drivers treating themselves as athletes in many ways. And it's, I don't see that ending anytime soon. Well, Billy, huge congratulations to you, man. I'm so happy for you and your whole team, Brandon, Cord, the whole gang that have supported this deal and been a part of this moment. We can't wait to see what happens next in St. Louis. And when you guys head out to the beautiful Sin City and get after it on the strip in Las Vegas, man.
Right. Yeah, I leave in the morning going to St. Louis. So
nonstop drag racing these days. It's hard. There's hardly a weekend where there's not something going on.
Yeah, it is rare for the NHRA Pro Mod Series to go back to back. So that'll be interesting as well. That's something that can kind of throw a wrinkle less testing time, even though I know guys were testing this week in between these events. So we'll see who's got their stuff together coming off the 4-wide heading to St. Louis.
That's right. It ought to be good.
It should be good, man. Well, be safe. God bless. And we'll talk to you real soon, brother. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.
Appreciate it, Billy.
Thanks, Billy.
Yeah. All right, bye.
Well, Michael, it's time to get the shoots out. Ready? We'll pull them all at the same time. I just pulled them.
No, it's on a button now, dude. It's on a button.
Dude,
like
you gotta watch. You go watch yourself 5 or 10 minutes of War in the Woods coverage from this past weekend. I was watching all sorts of YouTube videos. Man, this shit was awesome, and we didn't get to talk about it much. But a huge shout out to Devin Grace, the whole gang, with the Witch Doctor for taking the win in small tire, $20,000 win over James Teague. We also had our own Jimmy Dale, Tom Gunner taking the win. Jimmy Dale, fantastic weekend.
Jimmy Dale's won some races this year, man.
Homeboy is on a roll.
Up.
Homeboy is on a roll, and I honestly
hope that doesn't go to his head.
Series of Pro Mod.
Hope it doesn't go to his head.
Jimmy's head. It's.
okay.
I mean,
I figured.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Spend some time around him. He knows what he's capable of. But no, dude, we could do a whole show dedicated to War in the Woods. But I do want to give a tip of the cap to Jeff Thomas. We had him on last week. You can tell this guy eats, sleeps, breathes drag racing. He pours his heart and soul into that event and into these drag strips, and it's just cool to see him be rewarded with the kind of fanfare and success that they had this past weekend. There's certainly some wild and woolly moments, but I'll send you the clip of old Billy the Kid from the Street Race channel on YouTube. No more than he lets off the trans brake, he's got his hand on the lever. He's ready. As soon as that thing makes a wiggle, he's ready to get the laundry out. So not everybody switched to the old steering wheel pro.
He really wants us to come to that event.
We got to come in the spring. It looks like we're going about to have a busy 2026. We got all sorts of crazy shit we're working on. And now we're going to War in the Woods in the spring. We're doing Hot Rod Drag Week. My wife texted me while we were on the air and reminded me that was her birthday week.
Oh.
And I may need to reconsider those plans. And I said,
okay. You tell her I miss my wife's birthday every year at PRI. Well, I guess it hit during Snowbirds this year, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You forgot it. Completely.
And she seems thrilled with you. She seems thrilled with you.
Oh,
oh no, but hopefully you get to do something like that. It's not the worst I've messed up. Oh, too funny. Well, hey, huge shout out to everybody that supports this and everybody that joined us here today on the show. Ned Dunphy, Mike Galini, Billy Banica. Congrats to these guys, and I can't wait to talk to them on the show again. And of course, all of you for tuning in each and every week. We appreciate you more than you know, and we will see you right here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Appreciate it.
Yep. Later, y'all.